All right, so welcome to Weekly Homework Information Behavior Modification Step 14, also known as Weekly Homework Information Behavior Modification Final Step. So this is it. This is the end of this semester-long behavior modification procedure that we've all been going through. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the final things that we are going to be doing for this semester-long behavior modification, this semester-long project to improve behaviors, increase behaviors that you wanted to increase, and hopefully decrease some behaviors that you were looking to decrease. So at this point, we're just going to do some administrative stuff to begin with, and then I'll talk about the new things that we're going to be taking a look at. Okay, so first things first, there is no more required behavior for this week, for this homework assignment. For step 14, we are going to not require you to do any more behavior, any more mindfulness training, any more logic training, any more daily writing, any of the clockify behaviors. This is now when we stop the treatment and take a look at the behavior that we modified. So that doesn't mean at all that you yourself have to stop this treatment. So if you have seen improvements in your life and in your day-to-day activities and you like what you've seen, by all means, use the skills that you have learned in this semester to continue on with your treatment, with your training, with your self-behavior management. But on the other hand, for the purposes of what you will be submitting for this week, you do not have to continue on tracking or doing any of these behaviors. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do our final update of the weekly homework step 6 baseline and treatment phases Excel sheet. So this sheet right here, you want to make sure that the behaviors from the last week that you have completed are up to date. You want to make sure that this entire the entire recording now is up to date. So make sure that you enter in your behaviors for the last week and that this recording of our baseline and treatment phases is up to date with your latest behavior. So make sure that your 2 targetify, clockify behaviors are up to date, your mindfulness training is up to date, and your logic training is up to date. And now we are finally going to get to the daily writing, the promised daily writing payoff. So to kind of set this up, I'm going to talk about where this idea came from. It came from an interview with Seth Godin by David Perel. And Seth Godin, he's this wonderful thought leader about many topics in our world, and basically how to do meaningful work. And one of the things that came up when he was talking about working with the author Isaac Asimov, he says, quote, "And one day I said, so how do you end up with 400 books? We were in his living room and he took me over to this rickety table, and there was a manual typewriter on it. And he said, every morning I get up at 6:30, I sit down at this typewriter and I type until noon. And it doesn't matter if it's good or not. I just got to keep typing. And what that taught me," Seth Godin says, "is his subconscious said, well, if you're going to type anyway, you might as well type something good. And so something good came up." So this is a veiled description of basically natural reinforcement. So that's what we were doing with our daily writing. Unlike other aspects of our behavior modification, this one was wholly relying on natural reinforcement. Reinforcement that occurs as a direct and automatic consequence of the behavior in everyday settings. So if you recall, the instructions for the writing was that you wrote for 15 minutes, and that was it. There was no restrictions on what it needed to be. There was no restrictions on a word count. There was no restrictions on quality. And we were testing to see if the natural reinforcement of producing something good would then increase the likelihood of producing good quality writing the next time. So some days you probably sat down and you wrote and you looked at what you wrote and you thought, oh my goodness, I'm glad I don't have to submit this. This is horrible. It's really bad. Thank goodness I don't have to actually submit what I wrote. Other days you might have taken a look at what you wrote and thought to yourself, wow, this is great. I didn't know I could write like this. And hopefully through what we're going to see is whether or not through natural reinforcement, through your own recognition of, hey, I wrote this and it's great, that natural reinforcement, did it increase the quality of your writing, or did it increase the word count of your writing, and or did it do both? So that's what's going to be one of the new things that we're going to do for this homework assignment. So to help you do this, we're actually not going to use the weekly homework step 6 baseline and treatment phases. I realized that because we're recording your weekly writing, it's not really going to fit on this graph. So we have created a new Excel sheet. So this is weekly homework step 14, daily writing Excel. And this is the Excel sheet that you are now going to populate with the recording of your writing behavior. So what are we going to populate it with? Well, we're going to populate it with two things. We're going to populate it with word count, and we're going to populate it with writing quality. So what you're going to do is you are going to go to your Word document where you have your daily writing. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do word count. So the way that you do word count is you go to each day that you have and you simply highlight your entry for that day. And then you go up here to review. And it has this nice little button here for word count. And you click on that and it will count the number of words that you have. So in this case, on February 3rd, I wrote 85 words. And then we go back to our weekly homework step 14, daily writing. And where it says word count, we are going to put in 85 words. And then we are going to go back and we are going to highlight the next entry. And you can highlight the date or not highlight the date, just be consistent because we are just looking for changes. And again, we go up to word count. And in this case, there's 81 words. So we then go back to our daily fixed values. And you are going to do this for every entry that you had.
A few minutes later.
All right, so we've populated all of our word counts for all of our entries. And then if you go down here to where it says chart, you can see that now we have a nice graph of how many words did we write per day. And we can see whether or not this natural reinforcement, because again, remember, there was no requirement on word count. You just needed to do 15 minutes per day for the assignment. The actual word count was just a byproduct of that. So if you produced more writing and that felt good and you got naturally reinforced for that, that's going to show by an increase in the words that you wrote every single day as you go through this analysis. So that's the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do word count. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to check on word quality or writing quality. So that's the next thing that we need to enter. And the question that you're probably asking is, well, how do we do word quality? We want some sort of pseudo-objective measure of word quality. Self-reflection sometimes is useful, but if we know what we're looking for, then we're more likely to see that. So what we want is a more objective way to measure word quality. And for that, we are going to go to ChatGPT. So you can use ChatGPT. You can also use Bing. You can access Bing through iUSB if you're worried about any issues with using ChatGPT. I like ChatGPT. You can use the free version. It'll work on that as well. And what we're going to do is there is a prompt that you will be given access to in the homework assignment tab in Canvas. And that's the prompt that you're going to use. So the prompt here, we'll pop it in. It says, evaluate this 15-minute daily writing sample from a university student. The content may be informal or exploratory. Provide a score out of 100, where a typical or average entry should receive a score of 50. Base your evaluation on clarity, depth of thought, engagement with ideas, and overall coherence. And then you'll see in quotes, paste writing here. So this is the prompt that you're going to use. And what you're going to do is you are going to go to your daily writing, and we will start with February 3rd, and you copy your February 3rd entry. You go back to ChatGPT where it says paste writing here. You would put in the writing that you did. And at that point, you would hit enter, and we let ChatGPT do the work. So ChatGPT sometimes will give you criteria, or it will give you an explanation of why it evaluated your criteria the way that it did. That's great. That's great feedback to have. But what we're looking for specifically here is that score out of 100. So in this case, my first entry here got scored as a 64. And then we would go back to our values here, our weekly homework step 14 daily writing, and we would put in that 64. And then we would repeat this process over and over again. So we would go back to the prompt copy that again, go back to ChatGPT, repaste the prompt, and then now we're going to replace the daily writing with our new February 4th entry. So again, where it says paste writing here, we put in our February 4th entry, we hit enter. And once again, ChatGPT will evaluate it. So now we have a score of 72, and we would add that into our weekly homework step 14 daily writing. So now we have a quality score of 72. And then we would continue on with that until we've populated all of our entries. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then you can meet me back here for the final part of this homework assignment.
A few minutes later.
All right, so now we've populated our writing scores for word count and for our quality of writing, and we've updated that to our final entry. And now we get to take a look at our chart, and you will see that it has populated. The word count here is in the top part in blue. The word quality here is in the bottom portion of this graph in orange. And once again, it will let you see if you improved in the quality of your writing during this daily writing procedure. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to see if your daily writing has actually improved. We're going to see if, because of, again, natural reinforcement, your writing word count increased, or whether your word quality increased. So again, remember that this was something that was not required for the homework assignment. And we're going to see if just by the process of sitting down and doing the writing, you were able to actually improve your writing through that natural reinforcement of producing something that you recognized as being longer and higher in quality, and getting naturally reinforced, feeling good about it, feeling proud about it, feeling accomplished, and whether that influenced your behavior in writing in future writing situations. So that's part one of the new thing that we want to do. And then finally, part two is just a sort of wrap up to see how we did and how far we progressed. And this is the homework step 14 final analysis Excel sheet. And basically what I want you to do for this is go back to your data recording. So go back to the weekly homework step 14 daily writing that you just updated. Go back to the weekly homework step 6 baseline and treatment phases that you updated with the final recordings of your behavior. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to your daily scores, and you are going to, you can do a visual analysis of this, but what you want to do is you want to choose the area that has your lowest kind of consistent behavior. So this will probably be at the beginning of your data recording. So the lowest behavior for behavior that you improved, the highest amount of behaviors for behaviors that you decreased. So for example, logic training, you got faster. So you want to record your slowest times. And what we're going to do is use this visual analysis to see what dates you should include, and then go to your daily scores and you're going to copy those dates. And what you're going to do is you are going to copy about a week's worth of that data. So about 7 days worth of data. It's okay if you only have 5. That was the requirement. But it's got space for up to a week's worth of data. And what you're going to do is you are going to copy that week's worth of data, and then you're going to paste that into the correct place for the for this final analysis. So make sure that you paste the mindfulness training into the mindfulness training. Make sure that you paste the logic training into the logic training. But basically, you're going to choose your lowest scores on a particular behavior that we increased, such as mindfulness training. And then you're going to go to your highest scores. Basically, this is probably going to be where we ended up. And you are going to paste that. And then it will show you your improvement over the semester. So this is actually going to give you an objective measure of how much you have improved your behavior throughout this semester by doing all 14 steps of this behavior modification procedure. So it'll let you know your average low, it'll let you know your average high, and then importantly, it'll let you know your improvement. So we're going to do that for mindfulness training. We're going to do that for the logic training. So your logic training will actually go from high, you took forever to try to solve a logic problem. Believe me, I've been there, all the way to you're solving them very, very quickly right now. And then for your daily writing, we're going to record your lowest word counts. And again, this is 7 days in a row of consecutive word counts. So, or consecutive behavior in general. So don't just cherry pick the 7 lowest scores in total. What you want to do is you want to choose an area where your scores were on average the lowest, and then pick 7 consecutive days in that area of the scores. So we'll do that for the daily writing word count. We'll do that for daily writing quality. And then we'll do it for Clockify Behavior 1 and Clockify Behavior 2. And that'll give you a nice overview of just exactly how much you have changed your behavior by following and implementing the treatments that we have learned about in this behavior modification. So that is going to be our final thing that we are going to do. So what you're going to submit, you're going to submit your updated homework step 6. So it's this guy right here. You're going to hand in your updated homework step 6 baseline and treatment phases Excel sheet. So your final recordings of the final behaviors that we did for this course. You are also going to hand in your weekly homework step 14 daily writing Excel sheet. So this is where we finally get our daily writing paid off and see how much we have improved, or if we've improved our word count and our writing quality. And then finally, you are going to submit your weekly homework step 14 final analysis, where again, you take a look in general at your performance on your behaviors, and you choose an area where for a period of approximately 7 days, your behavior was at the lowest. On average, choose the area where your behavior was approximately the highest on average, and then paste those into the final analysis Excel sheet, and that'll give you a nice indication of how much you have improved your behavior this semester. So that is going to be it. So I am very grateful that you came along this journey with me. I hope that you've learned a lot about how to modify behavior, others, and yours as well. And my sincere hope is that some of the behavior changes that we made this semester actually help you in your future, help you in your academic future, help you in your post-academic future as well. And whether or not you decide to continue this is completely up to you. But I hope that you did find some value in this. I can't wait to see how much we have improved on different behaviors. And it is my sincere hope that you have learned a lot, but more importantly, that you will now take those principles and concepts and procedures and things that you have learned and go out into the world and use them to make this world a better place. So for one last time, make sure you are submitting your updated weekly homework step 6 baseline and treatment phases Excel sheet, your weekly homework step 14 daily writing analysis, and then your weekly homework step 14 final analysis. And now, for one last time, stay frosty, stay functional. Thanks for joining me, and go modify some behavior. Make this world a better place.
We did it! We did